The sky trembles again with the sound of warplanes. Peace, once held in delicate hands, now slips through the fingers of nations. Thailand, in a turn that has stunned many, lets go of the olive branch. The F-16s, once symbols of strength and defense, now scar the skies over Cambodia and ASEAN. Our collective spirit of harmony stands on a cliff's edge, but this is not the time to bow. This is the moment to rise. Even when peace walks out the door, dignity must stay seated in our soul. When nations abandon negotiation for the noise of warplanes, when diplomacy is replaced with missiles and commands barked over radios, it becomes easy to forget the still silent power of human dignity. But let us not be deceived. Dignity is not a luxury of peaceful times. It is the armor we wear when the world tries to strip us bare. In moments like this, when the horizon is clouded with smoke and sorrow, when the innocent flee and families fracture under the weight of conflict, we must hold on to what defines us, not as political entities or states, but as people, as souls forged in the fire of endurance. Cambodia did not seek this. It did not light the fuse that now burns toward another regional war. But when the jets came, when the skies darkened not with clouds but with the shadows of machines meant to destroy, the world saw more than a military act. It saw a moral collapse. It saw peace betrayed, and yet in the face of that betrayal, dignity stood up, quiet and unbroken. Because no number of F-16s can level the heart that chooses compassion. No display of force can erase the power of a mother shielding her child, a medic tending to the wounded under falling ash, or a monk praying amid sirens. Those moments of quiet bravery, those are dignity made visible. And to those who claim might is right, we say, you misunderstand the measure of true power. True power does not cower behind missiles. It does not flex muscle over mercy. It listens. It bends toward understanding. True power is knowing you could destroy, but choosing not to. It is restraint. It is grace. It is holding your humanity while standing in the center of chaos. Thailand, a nation rich in culture, wisdom and strength, has forgotten itself in this moment. For decades it stood as a model of balance in Southeast Asia. But this rejection of peace, this unleashing of force, is not a sign of courage. It is a cry of fear dressed in the uniform of authority. Yet even now, the Thai people are not defined by the actions of their leaders. Even now there are voices in Bangkok whispering, "This is not who we are," and they are right, because no people are born to make war. They are taught, and what is taught can be unlearned. What is ignited can be extinguished. So, we turn to those who suffer, not to pity but to learn. To the grandmother walking barefoot with her grandchild across the Cambodian border, who has lost her home, her fields, her past, she has not lost her dignity. To the teachers who reopen ruined schools to read to frightened children, to the elders who pray for peace, even as walls shake from nearby bombs, these are the real warriors. These are the beacons that remind us, dignity does not flinch in the face of fear. It does not retreat when threatened. It becomes more visible, more vital. Let the world remember that peace is not simply the absence of war, it is the presence of dignity. And though it may leave the negotiating table, though it may be rejected by those in power, it never leaves the hearts of the people. So when the last plane flies back, when the last gun falls silent, and when the world begins to breathe again, it will not be the generals who rebuild ASEAN, it will be the dignified, the unshaken, the compassionate. And they are already rising. War is a language of fear, but we are fluent in hope. Those who unleash missiles believe their message will be heard loud and clear. Submit, be afraid, we are stronger. They mistake destruction for dominance, believing that ash and flame can speak louder than the beating hearts of the people. But fear is a fleeting fire. It burns hot and wild, but it burns out. Hope, on the other hand, is the quiet ember that refuses to die. It glows even when buried under rubble. It sings even when the world is silent. It survives and then it rebuilds. Today, the roar of F-16s over Cambodian skies is a declaration of fear, not strength. It is fear that chooses bombs over words. It is fear that believes peace is too fragile to hold. But those who live beneath the noise, the farmers, the children, the healers, the dreamers, they speak a different tongue. They speak the language of hope, and it is a language passed from hand to hand across generations, whispered in lullabies and shouted in protest. It cannot be translated into weaponry, because it does not bend to destruction. It only grows in response to it. Look at the child who draws a picture of the sun, even when there is no light. Look at the father who plants seeds in soil scarred by war, trusting that one day the rain will come. Look at the doctors who race toward the wounded, not away from them. These are the fluent speakers of hope, and they speak louder than war ever could. For every wall that is torn down, hope builds 1,000 more in the hearts of the living. For every life taken, hope writes another verse in the great unfinished poem of survival. The ones who bomb believe that fear will make us forget how to hope. They believe the sound of a jet will drown out the songs of our ancestors, the stories of our children, the promises of tomorrow. But hope is not that easy to silence. It has lived too long in the corners of war-torn villages, in the backs of refugee caravans, in the eyes of mothers who have already buried too much. Hope is resilient. Hope knows how to hide when it must, but it never leaves. And when the dust settles, it always comes forward again, ready to guide, ready to heal, ready to begin. This is why Cambodia, though wounded, is not broken. This is why ASEAN, though shaken, will not fall apart, because the people have not surrendered. And as long as they hold hope in their hands, the region still has a future worth fighting for, not with bullets, but with unity. Peace is not the easy choice. It is not passive. Peace is the most courageous thing we can fight for. It requires imagination in the face of despair. It demands vision where others only see vengeance. And it depends on hope, stubborn, shining, sacred hope. Even now, somewhere in Cambodia, someone is lighting a candle for peace. Somewhere in Thailand, someone is mourning this moment, hoping for another path. These small acts are not powerless. They are the beginning of healing. They are the resistance against fear. They are the reminders that we, the people, are not ruled by airstrikes and invasions. We are ruled by what we believe, and we believe in a better tomorrow. Let the war machines roar. Let them speak their language of fear. We will answer not in silence, but in song. Not with surrender, but with spirit, because when the world forgets how to hope, we will be the ones to remind it, gently, fiercely, together. The rivers of Southeast Asia have always carried the blood and blessing of resilience, winding through mountain valleys, across farmlands, through temples and marketplaces. These rivers have seen kingdoms rise and fall. They have whispered to fishermen and witnessed empires burn. But no matter what has been taken from the people along their shores, homes, freedom, peace, the rivers have remained, flowing, constant, undeterred. They have always moved forward, and so have we. War is not new here, pain is not a stranger, but neither is strength, neither is the will to continue. Cambodia has seen this before. Thailand has weathered the same storms. Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar. Each has felt the heat of conflict and the cold silence of loss. Yet here we are, still standing, still speaking, still singing. And that is not by accident. That is because our people have learned how to endure. Like water, they have learned how to bend without breaking, to rise again after being forced down, to carry both sorrow and hope in the same current. The rivers teach us that no matter how many borders are drawn, how many battles are fought, the soul of this region is not easily broken. The Mekong River, ancient and mighty, does not flow with fear. It flows with memory. It remembers the bombings of the past, the wars that scorched the land, the cries of the people who refused to surrender. And today, as new flames threaten to rise, that same current of resilience flows through us again. The warplanes may darken the sky, but they cannot dry the river. The missiles may shake the land, but they cannot shake our foundation. And what is that foundation? It is family. It is tradition. It is the temple chants at dawn, the harvest festivals that dance through hardship, the quiet strength of those who till the land even as smoke rises in the distance. These are not fragile things, they are powerful. They are rooted deep. They remind us that we are not defined by the chaos inflicted upon us. We are defined by how we rise from it. Across ASEAN, from the deltas of the Irrawaddy to the rice fields of ASEAN, the same spirit flows. It is not naive. It does not deny the danger or the losses. It faces them fully and still says, we will endure. We will rebuild, because that is what we have always done. The nations of this region may be small in size compared to global powers, but they are vast in heart. They are bound not just by treaties or summits, but by a shared understanding that survival is not enough. We were made to thrive. So when we hear that ASEAN may be falling apart, that unity is cracking, we must answer with more than worry. We must answer with memory. We must remember that ASEAN was born from the ashes of war. It came to life not because peace was easy, but because war had cost too much. And now, as history threatens to repeat itself, we are called once more to choose the harder path. The path of peace, of dialogue, of holding on. Thailand and Cambodia are not enemies, they are sisters separated by a storm. And the storm will pass. It must, because the rivers are still flowing. And as long as they move, so do we. We move with purpose, with patience, and with a power born not of weapons, but of history. Let the world know the blood of our people has already soaked this soil. We do not wish to spill another drop. But if fire comes, we will rise like the rivers, carrying not revenge but resilience. And that, more than any bomb or jet, is what will shape our tomorrow. No country stands mighty when it forgets the weight of its neighbor's tears. In a world where leaders parade strength through military displays and declarations of defiance, there is a quiet truth that often gets buried beneath the rubble. True power lies not in how loudly you roar, but in how gently you listen. Thailand's sudden choice to abandon peace in favor of aggression does not elevate it, it diminishes it, because greatness is never found in the destruction of another. It is found in the willingness to stand still and feel the sorrow of those across the border, to understand their pain and to act not with dominance, but with dignity. Cambodia bleeds, not just from the shrapnel and the shockwaves, but from the betrayal of a neighbor who once sat at the same table of peace. These are not two distant lands. These are nations tied together by centuries of shared history, culture, and trade, by marriages across borders, by festivals that echo each other's songs, by rivers that flow between them like lifelines. And yet in one act of violence, so much of that delicate fabric is torn. But violence does not erase memory, and it cannot silence the truth. The truth is, there are children in Cambodia who speak Thai. There are monks in Thailand who pray for peace in Cambodia. The boundaries that separate these two nations are lines drawn by man, but the human bonds that link them are older, deeper, and far more enduring. When Thailand drops bombs on Cambodia, it does not merely attack a country, it wounds itself, because when a neighbor cries and you do not stop to help, the silence of your indifference becomes louder than their scream, and the world hears it. Let no leader be fooled into thinking that strength is measured by how many fighter jets you launch or how many targets you strike. Those things do not inspire, they instill fear, but fear does not last. It corrodes, it collapses. What remains is the stain of cruelty, the legacy of sorrow, and that stain is not easily washed away. A true leader does not measure their influence in destruction, but in how many lives they uplift, how many conflicts they diffuse, how many hands they reach out to hold. In ASEAN, we are taught to believe in unity, not as a slogan but as a sacred bond. That belief is now being tested. But in that test lies the opportunity to rise not through retaliation, but through reconciliation. Thailand must be reminded, not shamed, that its greatest strength has always come from its wisdom. Not its warfare, its culture, its diplomacy, its heritage of peacekeeping. These are the treasures that built respect around the world, and these are the very things at risk now. Meanwhile, Cambodia continues to weep. But those tears are not signs of weakness. They are calls to conscience. For every life lost, a question rises in the minds of millions. Was it worth it? What purpose does this serve? Who benefits from this suffering? And the answers, if spoken honestly, will point back not to security or strategy, but to ego, to pride, to fear dressed as courage. We are not separate islands drifting apart. We are part of a vast interwoven tapestry. When one thread is torn, the entire pattern begins to unravel. Thailand must remember the tears it once shed, the help it once received, the hands that once pulled it from the edge. And now in this moment it has a choice, to become the hand that heals, or the weapon that wounds. Let it choose wisely. Let it listen to the cries from across the border, not as noise but as truth. Because history will not only remember what Thailand did, it will remember what it refused to see, what it failed to feel, and what it chose to become. The storm may come, but it cannot drown the voice of those who stand tall in truth. War has always tried to silence truth. It sends sirens to smother it, missiles to shatter it, propaganda to twist it. But truth, like the human spirit, is not easily broken. It lives in the hearts of the unarmed who refuse to look away, in the voices of the ordinary who choose to speak, in the hands of the healers who mend what others destroy. When the world begins to shake under the thunder of conflict, and fear knocks at every door, there will always be those who rise, not with weapons, but with wisdom. In every war, truth walks barefoot through the wreckage. It carries the wounded, cradles the grieving, whispers to the ones hiding in shadows, "You are not alone." In the midst of bombs and betrayal, truth is the quiet resistance. It stands in front of tanks with empty hands. It weeps with those who have lost everything and then finds the strength to build again. It is not glamorous. It is not loud, but it is unshakable. The world may watch what is unfolding between Thailand and Cambodia and call it politics, call it power, call it inevitable. But the truth is simpler and more profound. This is a human tragedy, unfolding in real time. And in every corner of ASEAN, from the mountains of Laos to the cities of Malaysia, there are people watching, praying, asking who will rise to speak truth to this madness, who will remind these governments that the lives being lost are not just numbers, but stories that matter. There are leaders among us, not all in office, not all with microphones, who still believe in the sanctity of truth. They are the monks in temple courtyards who light candles for peace. They are the journalists who risk their lives to report what others would rather hide. They are the teachers who comfort children during air raid sirens, the farmers who continue to plant seeds, even as the soil trembles. Their voices may be drowned out by the roar of jets, but they do not fade. They grow stronger in the silence that follows. And what do they say? They say enough. They say this war is not righteous. It is not brave. It is not necessary. They say peace is not weakness. It is wisdom. They say ASEAN was not built on force but on the dream that Southeast Asia could rise above the ghosts of its past. They say history has already paid the price for arrogance. Don't make the future pay it again. The truth is inconvenient to those who seek control through chaos. It does not bow to borders or flags. It speaks to what is just, not what is popular. And even when leaders try to ignore it, deny it, bury it beneath ruins, it returns. It returns in the faces of refugees who cross borders with dignity. It returns in the memories of war survivors who cry out, "Never again." It returns in the determination of the next generation, who demand better. So let the storm come. Let it rage and shout. Let it try to frighten and fracture. But know this: truth does not run. Truth stands. And in the end, when the smoke clears, when the noise fades, it is truth that will be left standing. Not because it was the strongest, but because it was the most faithful. Faithful to humanity. Faithful to peace. Faithful to the idea that justice will rise even when justice has been pushed to its knees. In this moment, we must choose to be truth's defenders. Not tomorrow. Not when the war ends. Now. In the middle of the storm, because how we speak today will echo in how the world remembers us tomorrow. Let them say we stood tall. Let them say we spoke truth. Let them say we refuse to be drowned.